Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and for being here today. I want to start off this video by thanking everyone who watched my food addiction video and my compulsive overeating video. It did really well, for my channel, and the comments have been so nice to read, just knowing that it helped a lot of people realize that what problems they have, or it just kind of like validated the concerns they thought they had. So I'm gonna put that in the cards up here because the two subjects, like today we're talking about emotional eating, as I'm sure you saw from the title, but emotional eating and food addiction kind of go hand in hand. So this video, I'm gonna try my best to like not repeat any of that information because obviously that's really redundant. But I did want to let you guys know that I do have a food addiction video if you are new here, and I'll put it in the cards in case you want to check that out first. Hi guys, so we have a quick interruption because this video is sponsored. I want to give a big thank you to Green Chef for sponsoring this video. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Green Chef, they are a USDA certified organic meal service delivery company, and they make eating super easy and affordable by offering a ton of different meal plans. So Green Chef does allow you to select from a wide array of lifestyle choices, and they make cooking super easy by delivering all the ingredients pre-portioned to your door. So if you're anything like me, I am just not a good cook. I am really bad when it comes to portions, especially of like spices. I either put too much or too little. So Green Chef really simplifies that process by, sending everything you need in the exact quantities. Meal plans for Green Chef include paleo, plant-powered, so vegan and vegetarian, keto, balanced living, and family. Green Chef's expert chefs design a ton of flavorful recipes. I honestly cannot rave about it enough. Like we all know, I cannot cook, but when I cook these Green Chef meals, they just make it so easy. They provide very detailed instructions and everything always turns out so delicious. And as someone who really doesn't switch up my routine in terms of food, it is very refreshing to try new things and kind of realize that I am capable of cooking thanks to Green Chef. Honestly, if you're someone who cannot cook like me, or you're someone who wants to try new things, or you're just someone who really needs the convenience of having your groceries delivered to your door and your meals delivered to your door, I really recommend Green Chef, especially as the new year approaches. Maybe you want to switch things up. Maybe you want to start your year out strong. So if you are interested in trying Green Chef, they have an amazing offer for you guys. You can go to greenchef.us/JordanShrinks80 for $80 off your first box. Who doesn't want to save $80? And also use code JordanShrinks80. Thank you again to Green Chef for sponsoring this video, and now let's get on to the emotional eating. So like I said, today I am going to be talking about emotional eating. Honestly, it is probably one of my most requested videos to date. I never really did it, or I never really wanted to make a video on it because up until recently I didn't actually think I struggled with emotional eating, but as I've continued to do more research on the topic, specifically for this video, I did realize that I do struggle with emotional eating. Disclaimer, as I do with every one of my videos, I am not a therapist. I definitely suggest you seek professional help if you do have issues with food. I'm basically just here to talk about my own experiences and how I've overcome them. I never saw a food therapist, even though I think I should have, but nothing is like industry checked, you know what I mean? Like I just did shit that worked for me. So definitely seek help if you think you need more help than just my shitty videos. And remember, it's preaching time. Remember, millions of people struggle with this. There is nothing to be ashamed about. I encourage you to talk openly about this with your loved ones, with your friends, or even if you don't feel comfortable, with people in the comments, because even talking about it can be very therapeutic when it comes to food addiction, emotional eating, and everything like that. All right, so my mom actually inspired me to make this video. Shout out to my mom, Denise. My biggest fan. Mom, I love you. She actually inspired me to make this video. As a lot of you guys may have seen, I posted on Twitter, YouTube here, and also Instagram. We unfortunately recently lost my grandpa, my mom's dad. And it was obviously really hard because losing anyone in your life is very traumatic and there's a lot of grief. So I kind of wanted to go over my experience with that because when we're talking about emotional eating, it usually affects people who are very emotionally vulnerable. So someone following a death, a breakup, stress at work, whatever, is going on in their life. I'm also, of course, going to include some external research because you guys know I like to include at least a little bit of research in my videos. So it's not just me like talking at my ass, making shit up. So we're gonna include that as well. All right, so just to go over what emotional eating is, emotional eating is basically overeating or eating more than you would in moments of emotional distress. It is usually associated with negative emotions, so stress, sadness, grief, anxiety. However, it can also affect you through positive emotions. So some people who struggle with emotional eating will grab for food whenever they can. If they're happy, it's an excuse to eat. If they're sad, it's an excuse to eat. For some, eating when it's sad or depressed or stressed actually becomes such a habit that they start unconsciously reaching for treats, fatty foods, when they are feeling those emotions. So a lot of the time, people don't even realize what they're doing because they are so blinded by the emotions they're feeling. Their emotions are so strong. And I did want to mention, if you do find yourself eating when you are experiencing positive emotions, that might also be a sign of a deeper issue such as food addiction. So again, I'll plug my own fucking video, but definitely look into that. So like I said, I never really thought that I struggled with emotional eating until I started doing some academic research, and I realized that boredom is categorized as a type of emotion that, you know, leads to emotional eating. Listen guys, I am the queen of boredom eating. Like, if I'm bored, if I have nothing to do, it is dangerous for me to be in my house because I'm gonna go right over there. You see that right there? That's a cupboard. Wait a second, that's my door. See that right there? That's a cupboard, and it has lots of food in. Can you stand straight? It has lots of food in it, including chocolate. So if I stay in here and I'm bored, it's just bad news bears. So the thing that has helped me most when it comes to emotional eating is forcing myself to distinguish between emotional and physical hunger. So it's kind of obvious based on the names, but physical hunger is when you're actually hungry, and emotional hunger is when you just think you're hungry because you are experiencing some sort of emotion that is making you feel that way. Emotional eating can basically be identified by craving certain types of foods or flavors. So when you are emotionally hungry, you often have cravings. So whether that be like sugar or sweets or I don't know, donuts, pizza, whatever, like you're usually craving a certain type of food, like a certain texture, a certain taste. It's usually very specific. So now that I reflect on my life, as a lot of you know, I struggled a lot with binge eating. So when I would binge eat, it was the same thing. Like, I wouldn't binge eat on carrots. That was not my shit. I would binge eat on cake, like super high sugar, high fatty foods. So if that's something you are craving, it is likely that you are emotionally hungry. Unless, of course, you haven't eaten all day. Like, it gets kind of murky when we're talking about this because obviously we have to take into account how much you've eaten that day and everything, you know, along those lines. But if you just ate and you're craving cake, you're probably emotionally hungry. So emotional hunger often comes on very quickly. Like, it's like all of a sudden you're hungry. You're like, I want cake. This happens to me all the goddamn time. My boredom eating, my roommate and I will be sitting on this goddamn couch, and all of a sudden I'll be like, I want cake. And she's like, I want cake too. We just ate dinner. We're not hungry. We're fucking bored. So it usually comes on very quickly. And unfortunately, emotional eating is often followed by guilt, because deep down you know that you weren't actually hungry and you didn't need that food to, you know, live, or you didn't need that food to make yourself feel better. It actually made you feel worse. So emotional eating is often followed by guilt. Physical hunger, on the other hand, often creeps up very slowly. So over time throughout the day, you're getting more and more hungry. When you are physically hungry, you aim to be satisfied and full. So you're not just aiming to, you know, eat cake just because you want to. Like, you are actually hungry and you want to satisfy, you know, that need, that human need. Physical hunger after you eat usually isn't accompanied by guilt, unless of course you are dealing with some sort of disordered eating, some sort of disordered mindset when it comes to food. So my best example from my life is when I'm bored, when I'm emotionally hungry. Like I said, I will sit on that goddamn couch. You can't even see it, but there's a couch right there. I will sit on that goddamn couch and convince myself I need cake. When I'm physically hungry and I'm actually hungry, I want a meal. Like, I want to eat a satisfying meal. Like, I want to be energized with real food. So something else I wanted to talk about in regards to emotional eating is how sometimes it's not just the emotional eating that's affecting your life, but it's the underlying reasons that are causing you to feel those certain emotions. So an example from my life is, like I said, my grandpa just passed. So obviously when he passed, that was a very traumatic time. Losing anyone in your life is very traumatic. You know, paired with the fact that I have struggled with food addiction and I've struggled with binge eating, obviously it was a concern of mine that I would resort to food. And then pair that with all the stress that comes along with someone passing away. You have to plan for the funeral, you have to do paperwork. My mom has been really stressed, which has been, you know, not nice to see. I love my mom a lot. So that has been stressful on me. And then of course, the disruptance of a routine. A lot of the time, if you're struggling with emotional eating or any type of overeating, it is because you are stressed and your routine has been disrupted. So for me, I live for my routine. I'm a very routine person. Wake up, exercise, eat. Like, I'm just very, you know, routine with what I do. And if that routine is disrupted, I kind of lose it a bit. Like, I'm like very overwhelmed, I'm very stressed, and I don't know what to do. Like, I need routine. Since my grandpa passed, my Nana is still living and she struggles with dementia. So my mom and I have constantly been, you know, out with my Nana. No complaints, love my Nana. But constantly eating out, constantly being at her house, constantly like going out with her in the morning, which means I don't exercise my usual amount of exercise. And it's just overall was a very stressful time for me. Very happy to announce that I'm still binge free. Been binge free for well over a year now. That's my biggest accomplishment this year, I think. But yeah, the point I'm trying to get to is a disruptance in routine can be very stressful and can often lead to eating in ways that you don't actually want to eat in. And I'm not gonna lie, there were times over the past few weeks where I just said, fuck it. Like, I was like, I'm not cooking food. Like, I want to order food. I don't know the calories in this food. I don't know, you know, how healthy this food is, but I don't give a shit. Like, I'm just gonna order it because I'm overwhelmed. And I did do that a few times, and I don't think there's any shame in admitting that, because at the end of the day, when it comes down to stress, sometimes you have to cut corners to, you know, brighten your day a bit or to take a little bit of stress off. The most important thing, however, is even though I did cut corners, I did order a lot of food during this time, I refused to make it a habit. And I think that's really important when we're talking about emotional eating. If you struggle with it consecutively, the most important thing you can do is break that habit, is, you know, break the association of feeling a certain way with eating a certain food. By the way, with saying this, I acknowledge that it is easier said than done for a lot of people. Like, I can sit here and preach like, don't do that when you're sad, but like, I know that a lot of people can't just hear that and be like, you know what? All my problems are solved. Thanks, Jordan. My best advice, like I said at the beginning of this video, is to seek professional help, because they're the ones who can help you, you know, build a routine, build coping mechanisms to deal with this type of thing. I worked on my relationship with food for years now. So I'm in a much better place and I'm able to be, like, not make things into habits. But believe me, if I can do it, so can you. I was at a very low point with food. I was binge eating, food addiction, everything you can imagine under the goddamn sun. And I'm here now with a very healthy relationship with food. So I hope you can at least take that as a sign that you can get better and like you can overcome it, even if it's not as easy as snapping your fingers. Just know that someone who has struggled with what you've struggled with has done what you want to do. All right, so just to give a little bit of advice on like what I go through when I'm trying to determine between physical and emotional hunger. I did mention this briefly. However, I want to talk about it more in depth to hopefully give you guys ideas. So let me go over the list of what I do. So first I will ask myself when I last ate. A lot of the time, I shit you not, I will eat and 15 minutes later, I will think I'm hungry because I'm bored. If you ate 15 minutes ago, you're probably not hungry unless you ate like a fucking apple slice, but like if you ate a full meal, you're probably not hungry. Also, when you're asking yourself this, remind yourself of your surroundings. I work from home, so I'm constantly, like, if I don't want to work, I convince myself I'm hungry. Like, are you just in class and you don't want to listen, so you're convincing yourself that you need to go buy something from the vending machine after class? Like, just kind of acknowledge your surroundings and determine if they're the reason why you feel hungry. I also recommend that you try your best to decipher between physical and emotional hunger by kind of adopting or adapting a more intuitive eating lifestyle. This, I completely acknowledge, is easier said than done. I have been working for years to eat more intuitively and it has been hard. It has been a journey and I'm still not perfect at it. But the way I usually approach this is I actually look at people in my life who I know have healthy relationships with food. So who don't binge eat, don't emotional eat, any of that shit. So people who just have good food relationships. For example, my mom. My mom has a good relationship with food. And something I've noticed about my mom versus someone like who I used to be, a binge eater, is yes, she'll eat chips. Yes, she'll eat, you know, not the greatest foods sometimes. But the thing is, if she opens a bag of chips, she has like a handful and doesn't eat the whole bag of chips. Like, just try to look at people who have healthy relationships and mimic their behaviors, because that's like the best indicator for you to know how you should be eating. Even my roommate, she'll buy a bag of candy, eat like 5, put it away. Doesn't eat the whole thing. Like, that is not in my vocabulary. I still struggle with buying things in packages, like packaged candy, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be bored and eat that shit. So I still struggle with that. But by mimicking and trying to eat more intuitively, it is gonna help you determine if you're physically hungry or emotionally hungry. And also, I think it's important to kind of see what your friends do when they're dealing with negative emotions. So for example, a lot of my friends, when they feel negative or sad, like what they crave isn't food, but human connection, is talking to their friend, talking to their parents, like just having someone to rely on. So like they don't have to rely on food, because that's a big thing that a lot of us do. And obviously this is going to differ per person, because a lot of people who struggle with emotional eating do so because they feel like they don't have someone they can rely on, which, like I said, I completely understand. And like I said many times, is why I think you should seek professional help, because that's why those people are there, is for you to rely on, for you to vent to. But that's something I've done, is notice what my friends do when they're bored, what my friends do when they're sad, and very rarely are they eating. That's just me. And then finally, the last thing I've kind of done to conquer my, boredom eating is I distract myself. So I am a big advocate of going for walks when you're sad, when you're anxious, when you're hungry. Going for walks is so relaxing, is so therapeutic for me. I've talked about this so much on my channel, but going for walks, giving yourself the opportunity to clear your head, think about what you actually want in that moment, which probably is not food. I would suggest distracting yourself with like Netflix, but for me, even if I'm watching TV, even if I'm watching Netflix, I'm still thinking of the food in my cupboard. So walking is the number one for me. Obviously, finding balance, like I said, is going to be a lot more challenging than just listening to what I have to say. But as always, I just hope that me talking about my experiences kind of helps you guys figure it out for yourself. Please, 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 if you feel like you need it, seek help. These people have these jobs for a reason. It's because they help thousands, millions of people deal with the issues that you're dealing with. No one is alone when dealing with this. Millions of people struggle with food problems, and I just want you guys to know that if I overcame it, so can you. So yeah, guys, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my other food addiction video I was talking about, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!